We are 15 seconds late. My apologies. Happy uh, Wednesday, everyone. If you're watching this live, it is Wednesday. It is February 7th, 2024. Amazing. January's gone in a flash, in the blink of an eye, and we're already a week into February. For those of you who do the 12-week year model, you're in week 6 if you started on January 1st. How you doing? Where are you at? What's getting in your way of you achieving your goals? I'm so glad that you're here. I'm gonna just talk for a few moments. This is the 14th straight LinkedIn Live that I'm doing. At the beginning or at the end of 2022, I set a goal for myself, and at the time, it was a big goal to do a LinkedIn Live the beginning of every month, the first Wednesday, as a matter of fact, of every month. And I've continued that 14 times in a row. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of kudos. It hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always been smooth, but it has been. And it's a way of not allowing perfection to get in the way of progress. So, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. As always, it's me. Nobody behind the scenes doing anything for me. So if you drop some comments in LinkedIn during the live portion, I'm not going to be able to respond. I will respond to them afterwards. If you are viewing this on a recording on LinkedIn, drop a comment. If you're viewing it on YouTube, reach out to me. Let me know what you think about the content. I am here for you. I am here to serve. And it's really important that I create content that you find useful. So feel free to drop some suggestions either in the comments here on LinkedIn or in the comments on YouTube, and we will make those things happen. All right. So we are okay. Here we go. Beyond achievable, setting goals for extraordinary success. That's what we're here to talk about today. And you may be saying, John, it's February, man. Why didn't you do this back in December or at the beginning of January? I didn't do it then because I wanted you to use your process and then come in February and ask, how you doing, right? Nike did a study years ago for resolutions, and they discovered that quit day was January 19th. January 19th. Can you believe it? 19 days into the new year, and all those resolutions, or most of the resolutions, are by the wayside. So, you have your goal setting framework, and you've probably listened to experts and gurus. I know I have in the past. You're going to learn today, they have it wrong. That's what you're going to learn about today. So, let's get started. Here's what we're going to cover. Beyond achievable, setting goals for extraordinary success. 25 minutes. As always, I understand time is your most valuable asset. You will be out of here 25 minutes after we started. I guarantee it. 16 slides. You're on slide number 2 already. You got 14 to go. We're going to talk about the bastardization of SMART goals, what they were originally, how they have morphed over time to be really all about everybody gets a medal. We've heard this over and over again in society today. All kids get medals, whether you win, whether you lose, everybody gets a medal. SMART goals have been bastardized to everybody gets a medal as an adult. And that is just not our reality. That's not how it works. It's not how it ought to work. And I will tell you, it is a recipe for mediocrity. It's a recipe for average, and it's a recipe for regret. Now we're going to talk about how to set goals you really want to set. You're a high achiever. You're here, you're investing your time in this program. You want to achieve great things. You don't want to be average. You don't want to be in the middle of the pack. You want to achieve great things. So we're going to talk about how to set goals you really want to set. Let's talk about whether you're in the right place or not. You're an outstanding lawyer, or quite frankly, you're anyone who sets goals. But as you know, I am a peak performance and leadership coach working one on one with attorneys. So you're an outstanding lawyer. Your practice is a solo all the way up to law firms of 100 or more, quite frankly. You have avoided setting goals for this year. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get started. Whatever the self talk was. You're one of those Nike quit day people. You've already fallen behind or said, you know what? Let me adjust. Let me rethink. It's only February 7th. You ought not be rethinking or adjusting your goals for heaven's sakes. Get busy and get working on them. Or you're bored with the goals you've set and want a bigger challenge. Let me ask you this. For the goals that you've set, whether it's for this quarter, this year, do you have confidence that you can reach them? If you have confidence that you can reach them, I'm here to tell you they're not big enough. Period. Full stop. That's it. Go bigger. I tell my clients all the time, go bigger. So, a bit about me. I am, as I said, a lawyer who coaches lawyers. I practiced law for 24 years. I owned and managed a small law firm for 16 of those. I'm a professional certified coach by the International Coaching Federation. I also have these um, certifications. Sorry, little brain meld or melt there. I also have certifications in core leadership and performance dynamics from the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. And I'm trained in the neuroscience of flow at the Flow Research Collective. That's Stephen Kotler's group. He authored The Rise of Superman and some other books about flow. He is a disciple of Csikszentmihalyi, who is known as the godfather of flow. This is me, not presenting on goal setting to this group of high achievers. There's about 350 people in the room. I was presenting on leadership. And of course, goal setting is an aspect of leadership that you need to move forward, that you need to be an effective, efficient, and world class leader. Let's talk a little bit about the myth of setting achievable goals. This is what the experts and the gurus will tell you. Set achievable goals. Thinking too big is a waste of your time. That's what they'll tell you. If you set too lofty a goal, you'll fall short and consider yourself a failure. You don't want to consider yourself a failure, so set achievable goals. Setting achievable goals will get you where you want to go. That's the most pernicious lie of all. If you continue to set achievable goals, you'll get to where you want to go. Here's what's going to happen if you set achievable goals over and over and over and over again. A couple of things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to get bored. Number two, you're not going to focus on them as you ought to. And number three, and really this is the most sad part of setting achievable goals, your clock is going to run out. I talk about time all of the time. It is our most precious asset. It is a very unique thing because it is the only thing in the world that we don't know how much of it we have, and we cannot make any more of it. And so the what happens when you set achievable goals is you are going to run out the clock. That is what's going to happen. And you're going to get to the end of your life and you're going to realize that you are not where you wanted to be because time ran out and you were setting achievable goals. It's the worst. It is the worst. As many of you may know, my father died when I was 14. He was 43 years old. His clock ran out. Did he set big goals? No. Did he die average? Yeah, and that is a shame, and that's what kinda drives me when I am so passionate and I get up on my soapbox and I talk about how important goal achievement is and how necessary it is. That's what drives me, right? Your time can run out and will if you're not careful and you don't set goals the proper way. So the experts and gurus will say, set achievable goals. Thinking too big is a waste of your time. If you set too lofty a goal, you're going to fail. And setting achievable goals will get you where you want to go. None of those are true. They're just not true. Setting achievable or attainable goals is boring. And high achievers like you and like me, we don't like boring, right? What's the whole point? It's not to set boring goals. The point is not to set boring goals. The point is not to be average. It's not. Let's talk about the bastardization of SMART goals. Quite honestly, you've been bamboozled. That's the fact, right? Let's dig in as I love to do. I'm a history buff, I'm a lawyer, I'm trained to dig in and figure stuff out. George T. Doran created the SMART goal framework in 1981. So, gosh, the year I graduated from high school. But who's counting? What he did was he set this framework, right? Specific, measurable, and here's where it's been bastardized, assignable. You'll hear the quote unquote experts and the gurus talk talk about the A being achievable. It's not. They're not achievable goals. That's not what Duran said. So if we go back to the source, we know that it's wrong. We know that today's framework is incorrect. Duran did say to set realistic goals, and I think this is where he got it wrong. And we're going to talk about how things have changed over time and what the framework that he was operating under was, right? He was talking about he was talking about a type of corporate goal setting that was all the rage back then, right? It was the MOB framework. Um, and that has fallen out of favor. And so you can't have that and and sorry. Okay, let me start again here. It's okay. Um, the framework that he was operating under to create SMART goals has fallen out of favor. It just doesn't work anymore in today's world. So this is what I think. I think the problem with setting realistic and achievable goals is you'll die never having achieved your full potential. You're going to go and take your last breath and you're going to have significant regret. I think that is, if not a crime, it certainly is a damn shame. It is just a shame. That's the problem with setting realistic or achievable goals. You'll die never having achieved your full potential. Think about that. Think about how you want to be at the end. Would you rather be full of regret or would you rather think, you know what? I did big things. I did all I could. I played full out. My race is run and I'm at peace. Which would you rather? The answer is obvious, I think. Well, at least it is to me. And it is to a lot of other high achievers that I know. It's the latter. My race is run. I've done everything that I could. So let's talk about a new smart framework. Change the game that you are playing. That's what needs to happen here. You have to stop playing everybody else's game. And here's why. If you continue to play everybody else's game, you are going to be average because everybody else is playing the game. Change the game that you're playing. So let's just tweak a couple of the SMART acronyms and we can get there. It's not a really heavy lift to change two of the words. Specific. Why is it important to have specific goals? It's important to have specific goals because if they're not specific, they're just dreams or aspirations, and you'll never get there, right? And more importantly, you won't know when you've arrived, right? Yogi Berra said, I think it was Yogi Berra, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And that's true. The problem is you may wind up at a place that you don't want to be, right? I talk with folks all the time. I use this analogy. There's this imagery of, you climb a ladder and you keep on climbing and you finally get to the top and you look around and you say, this is not the ladder that I wanted to be on. I wanted to be over there. That's the importance of setting specific goals. You have to be specific so that you know when you're there. For high achievers, it's even more important because we continually push and we will move on to the next thing without realizing that we've done the first thing. So get specific, measurable. What's measured can be improved, right? There's a reason that in sports, there is a scoreboard. You know who's won and you know who hasn't. If you're not measuring your progress, then you're not able to know if what you're doing is working and if what you're doing is getting you closer to your goal. You have to measure. It's so important. And we're going to change the A from assignable. I'm all about assignable goals, by the way, all about it. Big fan of Who Not How, Dan Sullivan, one of Dan Sullivan's recent books. But we're going to move it from assignable, and we're certainly going to change it from achievable to aspirational. Here's an aspirational goal. This is what I want. Aspirational goals can be specific, they can be measurable, and they ought to be both of those things. What we're talking about in aspirational is big. As I mentioned, I trained at the Flow Research Collective with Stephen Kotler, and one of the key aspects of flow is the challenge skills ratio. And I talk with my clients all the time about this. The challenge should be 4 to 5% above your skill set. It should be bigger than your skill set so that you can leverage the biology of flow and get into that space. Same thing we're talking about here. Your goals should be aspirational. They should be big. If they're not big, you're going to be average. That's just the reality of it. And you were not meant to be average. And here's how I know this. I know it because no human being was meant to be average. We were all meant to be great. And the mathematicians out there may say, well, if everyone's great, then that's the average. Yeah, okay, whatever. The world would be a different place if everyone was great. I will tell you that right here, right now. And I know you know that too. I also know that your world would be quite different if you were great. So set those aspirational goals. R, we're going to move from realistic because realistic is boring and we don't have time for boring to relevant. And here's what I mean by relevant. Relevant goals light a fire in you. They spark your passion. That's what a relevant goal does. I'm going to give you an example. My goal is to figure out a way to reclaim the law as a noble profession. That is my goal, reclaiming the law as a noble profession. That is my vision, that is my mission, and that is my goal. That sparks my passion because when I practiced law and I hung out around attorneys at seminars and conventions and trade shows and things like that, I would hear them talk all the time about, I would never let my kid go to law school, right? I would hear them talk like that. I would hear lawyers in conversations with non-lawyers, and when they're asked what to do, I would see them hesitate for just a moment before they said what they did. That to me are symptoms. Those to me are symptoms of the law not being considered a noble profession. So that's my goal, and it gets me up every morning. It keeps me going every day, and it has me sleep well at night when I have taken steps to move forward to that thing. Relevant goals spark your passion. And the reason that that is important is because as attorneys, you are grittier than the population as a whole. You are. The science tells us that. And grit is passion plus perseverance over time to achieve a goal. So set relevant goals to you, goals that are relevant to you, aspirational goals. The last one is time bound. I will achieve X by this date. It's got to be time bound. Otherwise, as human beings, we operate like we have all the time in the world. And I speak from experience when I tell you we do not. We don't have all the time in the world. So you have to have a time bound goal. Steve Jobs, love him, hate him, some of both. I really like his mindset around this. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Those are the ones who do. The people who think they are crazy enough to change the world. So that's you. Adopt that attitude. So let's talk about some examples of aspirational goals, goals which dent the universe or dented the universe. Jonas Salk and the polio vaccine. He looked around the world in the 1950s and saw the absolute horror of polio, and he set an aspirational goal of eradicating it, landing humans on the moon and returning them safely to Earth. JFK, 1961. Google JFK's Rice speech, Rice space speech, and you'll see a great framework for setting aspirational goals. Corning Gorilla Glass. For all of you who have the smartphones, and I've got a smartphone. For all of us who have smartphones, Gorilla Glass did not exist until Steve Jobs made it happen. He approached the president of Corning back in 2007 and said, I need something that is ultra thin and ultra durable. And I need it by this date. And the president of Corning said, yeah, we can probably do it, but it's going to take a long time. Jobs said, nope, it's got to be done by this date. And it was for the release of the very first iPhone. iPhones and other smartphones would not exist today if it wasn't for Steve Jobs and that aspirational goal of Gorilla Glass. CRISPR. CRISPR is gene editing. And Miss Doudna and Charpentier won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2020 for their work with CRISPR. CRISPR is now used to alter genes for genetic abnormalities and genetic diseases. It's used in cancer for targeted therapy. It's changing the world. It's changing healthcare. These are examples of aspirational goals, and you can set them just the same as Salk, Kennedy, Jobs, and the CRISPR folks. You can do the same thing, and you ought to. You have to change your relationship with failure, and we're coming in for a landing. Let me ask you this. Would you trust someone who missed more than 9,000 shots in their career, lost almost 300 games, missed the game-winning shot 26 times? Would you put the ball in his hands? That dude's Michael Jordan. Those are his stats. And how do I know? Because those are the stats that he shares. And he talks about, I failed over and over and over again in my life. That is why I succeed. You must change your relationship to failure in order to adopt this SMART goal framework: specific, measurable, aspirational, relevant, and time bound. Everyone experiences fear. It's a feature, not a bug, of the human race. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of standing out, fear of, insert your fear here. The way to deal with fear is to expose yourself to it over and over and over again. That's what they do with people who have extreme phobias, like fear of snakes. They expose them to snakes over and over and over again until the stimulus no longer results in fear. That's what you ought to do. Expose yourself to the fear. Think big, move forward. At the end of the day, the world is hungry for your greatness. I believe that. And in order to achieve your greatness, you have to stop listening to the experts and the gurus, and you have to stop setting achievable goals and set bigger aspirational goals. If you want to learn more about how coaching with me can empower you to set and achieve big goals, send me a message here on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Go to my website, johnrkormanik.com, and book a 30-minute discovery session. I'd love to connect with you. Stop setting achievable goals, set big goals, get out there, do great things. Let me know what your goals are. Talk soon. Be well.